Chapter 10. Dead Men Tell No Lies. A soul connection is a powerful feeling, Makey, Kuvalik said to me. You are connected to this world in a way that others might only imagine. Given your source of power, you can reach out to the elements beyond you and grab them. He extended his ghostly arm in front of him. Purple light pulsed down his incorporeal veins, and from his fingers erupted sparks of electricity. We were in his living room, under the hole in the roof to the afternoon sky. Natalie had gone home, but I stayed on for my first lesson. Standing here, about to learn the use of real powers, I could only feel excitement. Natalie was fulfilled, and my lie made up for. There was no longer any guilt tied to the knowledge of who I was. How could I not be excited to expand my possibilities? Like Natalie said, we are only what we make of ourselves. I didn't have to be scared by Simone's perceptions. This was a new world for me. You understand the soul connection, do you not? He asked me. I think I do, I replied. Heslick took away my power yesterday. He did it with Quatra. Yes, this is known as destructive interference. It will be one of your most useful self-defenses. Absorbing another's Quatra energy will block your thread for a short time. I could feel all the senses that I'd had my whole life and never realized. I can feel the fullness of carbon in things and the sense of space through air. And where do you feel these sensations? The ghost asked me. I focused on them. In my fingers, in my palms, in my arms, my chest, and my ass, in that order. Kuvalik chuckled. Would it be accurate to say that you feel them in your being? Well, yeah, I guess it does feel like that, I agreed. Then you know the soul connection. He smiled and floated around me in a circle, standing by the well-kept couch. I followed him with my gaze. The sensation of the soul and its connections are granted at the base level by Quatra use. To do anything more with your gift, you must call on the energy to do so. The first thing to know, however, is that there are rules for being a good Snaver. One of those like the ethics that Heslick mentioned, I asked. Yes, Heslick has taken one stance on the traditional rules. They come from your people, the ancient Keen. Just like all ethics and morals, they're fluid and imperfect, but these rules are widely followed and adhered to, he explained. The first rule is that one must not use Katra or Katra abilities against a person unless you are met with a threat. You may retaliate only with power equal to that threat. Even then, Quatra must only be used defensively. You must never attack anybody. Well, okay, it wasn't my first thought to attack somebody, but that's good to know, I noted. The second rule is that Quatra is a tool of knowledge and self-discovery. First and foremost, those who believe or try to convince you otherwise are lazy or lost. The third rule is that Quatra is a dangerous energy, Makey. You must treat it with respect. The fourth rule, and somewhat the most important one, is that Quatra should never be used to kill. That is the ultimate dishonor and misappropriation of the gift. So, act defensively, seek knowledge, treat power with respect, and don't kill. Sounds like a don't be a dick to me. Yes, but these are very serious rules, Makey. You must tread very carefully. You may find it easier to break them than you believe. Then I'll aim to tread as lightly as possible, I responded. Now, to manipulate your soul connections, you must channel and use Quatra energy. The most basic form of this is expelling it through your body. He held a hand out. His fingers drifted in the gentle breeze coming from the roof's hole. He then held them like Heslick had done to my chest, the first two fingers up like a V, the second two forward of the palm, and the thumb orthogonal. He angled his palm down and in slightly, and summoned energy. It ran from his thread, down his arm, and out of his palm. The three-ringed bullet of purple energy soared through the living room and collided with the wall between the two hallways. Its rings emanated and then dissipated like they'd done before. Do you feel the energy? He asked me. I could see it, I said, but I don't feel it like I felt the other sensations. Strange. He rubbed his non-existent chin. This may be more difficult for you. Great, I grinned. I want you to try and summon your own Quatra energy, he said. And how do I do that? I asked. You're a Keen, Makey. You will find it easiest to focus on your breathing. Many Keen would say that Quatra circulates with the body like the flow of the breath, in and out, and it moves through your system like a wave of air. Focus on your chest. Let it draw the energy in and pump it around your body. You must be aware of where your thread is. That sounds kind of hard, I noted. It will be on the first go, but it will become second nature shortly. I promise you that, he smiled. Just be careful where you aim your arms. If you hit me, I'll die. I'm holding my consciousness together through my thread and its Quatra. If my thread was blocked, that's the end of me. Yeah, okay, I'll make sure not to kill you, I guess. I wheezed at the implication. I focused on my breathing then. Air rushed in, air came out. Like a tide at the beach, or a wind through a tunnel. I felt the energy at the base of my neck. It buzzed. Look through your thread. It is your connection to the great black hole Omicronius. When I breathed and emptied my mind, I could feel past the mouth of the thread. The energy was there. I exhaled, and it became more obvious how to command it through my body. It would move with my breath. When I exhaled a second time, I drew it in and forced that energy through my body. The energy, hot and fast like turbo gases, charged through my neck and into my arm. It burst from my hand, and I jolted from the recoil, which, although minimal, I wasn't expecting. The energy came out bright green, and at an odd angle. It flew into the floor and rang its rings until they dissipated. Very good, Kovalik said. How did that feel? Well, that felt easier than I expected, I said. I turned my hand up and stared at my palm, although now, looking at my hand feels kind of dangerous. How do I aim the bolt? I asked. You put your hand in a pose when you did it. Ah, yes, the ghost said, making the peace sign gesture again. This is a good gesture, but more useful for reading the katra field, which you won't be able to do yet. Each set of fingers aligns with an axis, with the palm acting as the fourth spatial dimension which we don't perceive. What, you believe in a fourth spatial dimension? I quizzed. I'm a living consciousness kept alive by black hole energy. I opened up my mind long before this stage. You would do well to open yourself up to new possibilities, Maggie. Yes, of course, I blushed. Using a pose like mine would not be useful for firing katra until you're more experienced, but this pose might help you, he said. He drifted closer to me. I became immediately uncomfortable as his smoky body drew near to my breath. I might have accepted who I was as a Seneva by now, but it was still strange to accept that the dead men lived. He held his hand in front of me and aimed it to my right. He formed a fist with his thumb pointed out to the side. The thumb is used to create a perpendicular reference direction. Curling the fingers inward will limit the other directions a katra could go. The bolt will come out from the palm. I studied his hand, then replicated the open fist. I aimed my left hand away from the ghost and set my sights on the handle of the sliding door. I concentrated on my breathing again. This time it was much easier to summon the quadra, which pumped from my neck pneumatically. It burst from my arm, coursing a straight line to the door. My aim was off, but the idea was right. Very good, Kovalik congratulated me. Mastering these basics is important. Do not be flustered if we spend whole days on basic practices like these. Well, you're a good teacher. I'll try not to, I said. Thank you for helping me. You're doing well. Patience and an open mind will help you go far. For the next hour, Kovalik had me practice the art of drawing and firing quadra. He had me stand and breathe to draw quadra from my thread. He gave me targets to aim for, and he had me fire from both hands. This was the art of patience and perfection. My aim didn't get much better, but my ability to call on the energy did. Do you have more time today? He asked me at the end of the hour. It might get dark soon. It'll be fine. Mum will just think I'm at a rehearsal or training or something. Let's move on. Okay then, Makey, Kovalik said, but squinted at me with the eyes of a discerning parent, knowing I was overstepping my boundaries. Then I'll move on to your quatran, the abilities you gain from katra. I'll start with keen, although you should not be frustrated if it does not come to you as easily as anything else has. This could take time to develop and might not work every time that you want it to. I think I had to expect that, Patience and an open mind. I tapped my head. He smiled. You'll learn that lesson quickly. Now, how best to teach this? He pondered. He let his shadowy body circle me, floating around the living room. I could feel the wake which swirled behind him, vortices shed and waned in his trail. Do you ever get the feeling, he asked me, that if you reached out into the sky, you could touch it? That if you leaped, you could grip onto it and you'd never have to fall? Yes, I answered, remembering back to my dreams. I get that feeling a lot. Okay, that's good, he said. We're going to use that feeling. Using a katran should be easy like that. The feelings are natural. The hard part is using katra abilities to manipulate your soul. Well, that does sound like the hard part, I noted. I want you to focus on the feeling, Makey. Reach out with your hand and grab at the air in front of you. Feel your ability to do so through your soul connection. I put my left arm in front of me. I focused on the far corner of the room. I could feel the energy of the air on my fingertips. I could feel my grasp on it. I flicked my hand, but the air did not follow. There are two ways to think about your abilities, Kovalik commented. If you have trouble thinking about the soul connection and powering your soul to move the air, which can be a difficult concept, you may want to think about the conservation of energy. You receive energy through your thread, and you can deliver it to the air. As with Vel, water, and Radak, Earth. You can give air kinetic energy and directional velocity. This is the power you have of air, to give it kinetic energy. This is not the same as your connection to carbon, but we will get into that later. If it helps, focus on transferring your kinetic energy to the air through Quattro. Right, just like Vesta said, I thought to myself, energy in equals energy out. I focused again on my breathing, to feel the energy flowing into my body. I focused again on the air in the corner of the room, and the grasp that I had on it. Give it the energy, I reminded myself. I gripped with my hand and summoned Quattro energy from my thread. I swiped at the air to transfer my kinetic energy to it. A bolt of Quattro came straight out of my hand. The air remained still. I groaned. Ugh. It's a common issue, Kovalik noted. We could be here for a while before you can actually move the air. So what did I do wrong? I asked. You missed the transfer. You meant well, but the Quattro was not absorbed into your soul, and so did not transfer to your grip on the air. Well, how do I make sure that happens? I asked. Well, I can't really tell you that. I've forgotten what it feels like to not be able to do it, he chuckled. But if you practice, you'll get there. Right, I grimaced, determined. I set my sights again on the air. I let my hand float by my side, collecting my grip on the air in the room. It slung over my pocket, fingers twitching like a cowboy ready to draw. I summoned the energy from my thread. It coursed through my veins, and when it came to my arm, I drew my pistol. I flung my arm up and grasped at the atmosphere, gripping in, focusing on what I wanted the energy to do. I could feel the transfer. My grasp was powerful. It was full. I swatted with my arm, and a gust followed my movement. Dust stirred in the corner of the room. My face lit up. Hey, I did it, I gleamed. Indeed you did. That is a good first step, Kovalik noted. You do not need me to ask you how you would move the air beyond giving it energy, such as motions or thoughts or bodily positions. You trusted your gut and you allowed your soul to connect in the way that it wanted to. I did? I asked. Yes, you followed your intuition, and this is always the good step. In time, with practice, the amount of movement you would need to command the air will become minimal. Right now you're inefficient. Further along, maybe decades from now, a simple flick of the wrist could send you flying into the air. So, Quattro can amplify my movements? I asked. It almost certainly should, Kovalik stated, but of course you will get better. That was your first movement of the air. Let's keep practicing. I continued to practice. I couldn't even move the air every time that I tried, but little by little I felt myself improving. Even then, having just picked up the skill, I could feel deep inside that there was so much more I could do with this. Tantalizing possibilities sat at the tip of my tongue, waiting for me to gain the proficiency to perform them. I was filled with excitement, the magnitude of which I don't think I'd even imagined feeling. I didn't care what Simone thought, or what others might think of Seneva. Expressing this part of myself made me happy, and I grinned from ear to ear. Is this my life now? I spotted Natalie on my way to my first class the next day while traversing the long pathway to the language department through the thick brush of green trees the school had planted there. I spent all night practicing my abilities with the air, or keen, as a Seneva would know it. Mum was not pleased with how late I'd come home, but there was, some lie of another activity I'd taken up, said without much guilt for the elation I felt. I spent my time in my room, experimenting with small blasts of wind. I found the ability to push outwards and have a gust soar past my palm, pushing me backwards. I played with circulating the air above my head and around the room. It took all night to get anything remotely cool or interesting to happen, and even though I was underslept today, I didn't care. I was excited to show Natalie. Natalie walked taller than I'd ever seen her before, her head lifted, her skin glowing. She held one hand by her side as she stepped away, her fingers in the peace sign pose that I was told I couldn't do anything with yet. I sleuthed up behind her, but she knew I was there and turned just before I could surprise her. "James," she greeted cheerily. "Wow, this really does work." She stared into her palm. "Well, careful you don't shoot yourself in the face," I said. "That's like a real issue now." "I guess it is," she smiled. "I take it your Mitza helped you out then?" I asked. "Yeah, I can't believe it," she glowed. I mean, she's also a Seneva. She was waiting until I discovered it myself to teach me anything. "Well, that's, interesting," I quizzed. "Surely you would have been better off knowing your whole life, like Eslick seemed to believe." "Maybe," she said. But she was right, in that if I'd always known I was different, I could have been treated differently. She just wanted me to feel normal as a kid. I like that, although I don't appreciate being lied to my whole life. That's kind of rough," I hummed. "So, what are your Seneva abilities?" "Water and hydrogen," she said. "Zaman and well, which makes me Zamel." Well, I mean, that feels pretty close to my abilities," I said. "And there are plenty of abilities, right?" Sure, she noted. I guess that is a little strange, but I didn't focus much on the abilities last night. My Emitsa taught me all about the soul and how you can use Quattro to power it. She taught me about control and the field and things about eye colors and auras. There's so much to it, James. Well, I know. How exciting is it? I rhetorically asked. You look radiant. For as ridiculous of a thing this is, I really do feel great, she smiled. I feel complete, finally. Like this was always something missing from my life. You look better too. And I feel it, I smiled. I wonder who else was missing out on something they always had. Strange to think, she smiled. I want to show you something cool I can do, but... She glanced around, scouring the surroundings for onlookers. She looked at the scrub next to us and pulled me in by the arm. You know this is the kissing bush, right? I asked, peering over the leaves. Gee, if Reese Cameron caught us... Oh, fuck Reese Cameron, she scolded. Look at this. She pulled her drink bottle out from her bag and placed it on the floor. She removed the lid and tossed it to me, which I expectantly dropped to the dirt. She grasped at her element with her hands. She waved them in and out in circles around each other, keeping her fingers in the Seneva peace sign pose. My Yamitsa taught me that Quattro flows through the body like blood. It moves like a stream into the soul. Its flow appears gentle like a winding creek, but can be as forceful as a tsunami. Her hands danced, and the water was charmed from the bottle like a snake. It slithered out and gushed around itself, gently dancing into the air as a rope of water. I was stunned. But Kuvalik told me you could only give elements like ours kinetic energy. How are you holding it like that? I asked. All I could do was push air around, if I could push it at all. I couldn't hold it in place like that. That was madness. Well, it's easy, she said. I'm giving the water velocity around itself, like I'm wrapping it up. Right, I said. I thought you didn't even practice water with your Yamitsa. Well, I barely did. This is beginner stuff. Oh, sure, I flushed red. I guess all it takes is open-minded patience, right? I recited Kuvalik's message. Huh? She quizzed. No, this was like the second thing I did with water, she smiled. How is she so amazing with no practice? I grumbled to myself. I could feel a spark of envy. Show me something you can do, James, she smiled, using the snake of water to wash her dropped bottle lid. I froze up. Oh, I can't really do anything like you can, I mumbled. No, really, I'd love to see it. If you insist, I faked a grin. I summoned the energy from my thread. My hand was held by my chest. In its fingers, I could feel my connection to the air. The digits of my soul dug into the atmosphere. I pushed my hand forward, like an open palm punch. A trickle of air rushed past my body. Natalie's hair blew about gently. Oh, she blushed red. That's neat, James. Yeah, it's neat, I laughed nervously. Well, there's plenty of time for us to learn, she noted. Natalie, I was thinking about it, and for what exactly? I asked. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm eager to learn, and Kuvalik told me that the power is like a tool for knowledge and self-discovery, but what will we use them for? I don't think you can really use them in public. Something will come our way, James, Natalie said. I can already feel it. There are other Seneva presences around here, too. Well, if you say so, I said, but how do you know about other Seneva? Oh, my Emitsa taught me how to sense others in the Quattro field. She said I picked it up really quickly. You can't sneak up on me anymore, she winked. Yeah, jeez, of course you figured that out in a second, I grumbled to myself. Anyway, look, I've got to get to class, James, she said. I'll see you later, yeah? I'll catch you later, I smiled wanly. Natalie extracted herself from the kissing bush and scurried off to class, eager to be 5 minutes early, as usual. I casually pulled myself from the scrub, brushed myself off, and looked up to the sky. 2 moons had been there a few nights ago, foretelling changes for me. Was this it? Or was there more change to come? I questioned, looking up at the clouds. When I came back to Earth, I saw Reese Cameron walking the other way down the path. He didn't even look at me as he slid past. His gaze told a story of terror, and I grinned at it.